of those handful of students who have voiced this racial, have acted in discriminatory fashion on the campus, but we come out today to voice our resistance to a system that perpetuates and maintains racism and economic divisions. I'm part of the Worker Student Alliance on this campus. We're an organization that has been working now for over 2 years on a campaign to insource 155 janitorial workers on our campus that are subcontracted and are themselves the victims of racist super exploitation. The majority of these workers are Latinos. They are immigrants, and because of their status as Latinos, as immigrants, they are being targeted for super exploitation on our campus, and they're being denied the justice they deserve as workers on this campus to get equal benefits, equal pay, and equal protection under the same contract that all the other workers on this campus have. UCI is the last campus of the UC system to subcontract its workers. And for 2 years, it's been refusing to do the right thing and to insource these workers. The 17 students and organizers that sat in on the Chancellor's office and were arrested for voicing their resistance to this policy of the university continue to stand in solidarity with these workers and continue to demand that the university insource the ABM workers and give them the benefits, the pay, and the protection they deserve under the union contract. And I hope all of you will stand in solidarity with these workers and resist the racism and the exploitative practice that we're seeing being used against them. Now, I wanted to make sure that got out, because it is one of the demands of the Democratized Education Coalition. It is one of the demands of a number of the student organizations on this campus. But the worker struggle on this campus is part of a larger struggle that we're seeing across the UC system. It's part of the same attacks that's being leveled against students of color, against working class students, and against all students. We are being asked to bail out a system that doesn't provide basic needs for any of us, and that more and more provides less of the basic needs for communities of color and for working class communities across this country. And it is part of the same system that perpetuates violence against working class people across the globe, including in Palestine. It is a system that is rooted in profit-making for the few and in the exploitation and oppression of the many. And the front that we are challenging here at UCI is part of the larger front against imperialism, against the genocidal wars for profit, and against the privatizing of more and more of our public institutions to benefit corporate power and corporate profit at the expense of all of us here today. So I want to again applaud all of you for coming out and standing in solidarity with the Irvine 11. Because what they did was they stood up for what was right. They spoke out for what was right. And when our chancellor signs on to a public statement with Mark Yudof and the other chancellors of the other campuses that lump together the racist acts at UCSD and on other campuses with the acts of rightful protest against the abuses of the State of Israel and against of the larger abuses that we see perpetrated by U.S. imperialism and the abuses that we see perpetrated within our borders through the privatizing forces that are affecting our campus. When they stand up and resist those forces, they are on the side of right. And those that are opposing them are on the side of wrong. And it's itself an injustice for the Irvine 11, for the 17 students who were arrested on Wednesday, for everyone else who's been protesting across the state of California, to be lumped together with the racists who have been perpetrating acts of violence against black students at UCSD. Free speech is a valuable thing, but not all speech is equal. There's right and there is wrong. And those of us that are standing up against imperialism, against the violations of the state of Israel, against the privatizing of our university, against the exploitation of workers, against the discriminatory admission policies of the UC system, against the raising of fees that will more and more leave working class students out of the Cal States and the community colleges. We're on the side of right. We're protesting for what's fair and just, and we will prevail. So stand in solidarity, support the Irvine 11, and come out on March 4th.
I just want to clarify some things before we move on. The Black Student Union at University of California, Irvine was very gracious enough to provide this space for the 11 students that were arrested at Ambassador Oren's event and the 17 students that were arrested last week. I just want to clarify that before we move on, that it's the Black Student Union that's hosting this event and that they're really gracious. And so just give it up for the Black Student Union. We're going to move into our last speaker for today, who is Jim Lafferty, who is from the National Lawyers Guild. So come on up.
I couldn't be prouder than to be standing here today on behalf of the UCI 11. And I am so proud of the fact that it is lawyers from the National Lawyers Guild that are representing them, and that will continue to represent them until they get the justice they really deserve. Now, the chancellors and administrators of UCI would have you believe that all this is about is the violation of Mr. Oren's free speech rights. They'd like you to think that's what this is all about. They'd also like you to think it's about academic freedom, but that the only culprits here with respect to academic freedom are, of course, the UCI 11. Let's play their game for a moment. Let's look at the matter of free speech rights for the Israeli ambassador. And let's see if they were violated. But before I do that, first of all, if there's one thing that ought to be clear to everybody, is that the point of view of Israel has no difficulty reaching the people of this country. Just turn on your CNN or Fox News or CBS or ABC or NBC any night, and you can hear the point of view of the Israeli ambassador. Indeed, every day in this country, virtually every politician in this country panders to the point of view of the Israeli ambassador. So, don't sit up nights, though, I would suggest, waiting for CNN or Fox or any of the rest to give you the point of view of the Palestinians who are suffering as we speak in Gaza. And certainly don't hold your breath waiting for this university to return the favor and invite a leader from Hamas to come and speak on this campus. Now that would be a piece of academic freedom I'd love to see. But okay, you say, Jim, we're really not talking about the media here. We're talking about what happened here on this campus. All right, fair enough. Let's talk about that. First of all, he not only did speak on this campus, he finished his long speech on this campus. In other words, it's not as though he was run off this campus. He was only interrupted in the course of his speech for a couple of minutes. You know, nobody pulled the plug on his microphone. Nobody rang a false alarm for the fire department. Nobody shouted him down so he couldn't complete his speech or make his speech. As they say, 2 minutes. Nobody forced him back into his chair. Nobody did anything that prevented him from getting his point of view out fully to the students at this university. Now, the dean has said that, well, there's something called a heckler's veto, and he's right. Dean Chemerinsky is right. There is something called a heckler's veto. But for there to be a heckler's veto, there have to be two things, right? First of all, there have to be hecklers. Well, we had those.